All right, welcome back to Three in the Key today, brought to you by Find a Bet. Henry and Dan couldn't be here today. They're both celebrating the W's their team got during the play-ins, while my Wizards took the L. But we'll get more into that soon. Filling in today, we got Matt Hanson and Tyler Austin. Why don't you guys give a short intro real quick? Matt, I'll start with you.
Yeah, thanks for having me in the home. I'm definitely happy for Dan and Henry being able to celebrate today. You know, their team's getting big W's and making their way into the playoffs. I'm happy too. I'm a LeBron fan. I still rep my Cavs gear from our 2016 championship. So I'm excited to get on here and talk some basketball. Tyler and I just wrapped up a new episode of The Catch earlier today, talking baseball. So, I'm in sports mode. I'm ready to go. I finished the Lakers game this morning. I woke up and had to avoid my phone just so I didn't see what happened in the game. I immediately turned on the recording and got to finish that and see that amazing shot that LeBron had to ice that game. So I'm ready to talk basketball. I'm excited to be here. And again, just thanks for having me.
No problem. Tyler, how about you? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Glad to be here, filling in on three in the key. I'm mostly football and baseball takes, but we gotta love basketball too. You gotta have it all. And that was an amazing game last night. I do want to say, Matt, now if the Lakers had lost, do you think LeBron James comes out with an eye patch on?
Oh, absolutely. I think there's a good chance we're going to see him with an eye patch anyways. There's very few actors in Hollywood that are as good as LeBron James is on the court when he's faking an injury. I guess it's not really fake. You definitely got poked in the eye. You can see it was kind of swelling, but, oh, man, you would think that he got shot in the head.
Yeah. We're going to start with the Hornets and the Pacers. I thought this game was going to be close, but it did not turn like that. The Hornets out the gate got blew out. They were down 24 at halftime. Starting off with LaMelo Ball. LaMelo didn't do good this game. Overall, the Pacers defended really well and got plenty of fast breaks, and the Hornets looked really lackluster. What's your overall reaction to this game?
For me, I was excited to see what LaMelo Ball was going to look like in a playoff setting. Even though it's just a play-in, it's essentially a playoff game for him. And he's had such a fantastic year, I think, exceeding a lot of the expectations that were set for him coming into the league. Basically, he had to live up to Lonzo and be as good as Lonzo, right? Well, I think he exceeded that. And, he was really the whole reason that offense went this year. And when they were having success, it was because the ball was coming through LaMelo Ball. Anytime that you saw him out of games or out during stretches with injury, it's not the same team. And while you have guys there like Miles Bridges and Terry Rozier who can put up big games point-wise, there's really no player on that team that's as complete on both sides of the ball than LaMelo Ball is. So, for him to kind of be off his game, it's a lot of pressure to put on a young kid like that. But they really needed him to be great in order to beat the Pacers, because the Pacers, while boring, they just have a lot of really good big men that can control the paint. And that's what they did. They kind of just controlled the pace of the game, prevented them from really getting out and scoring on the break and scoring in space the way that they like to. And overall, you just have to hand it to the Pacers for having a good game plan to stop LaMelo in that offense, and they went out and they executed it.
Yeah, for sure. I was surprised. I thought this was going to be a close game. I thought Miles Bridges and LaMelo Ball, Terry Rozier were going to step up because the Hornets had more weapons, and the Pacers, they were out without Caris LeVert and doing a bunch of injuries. But out the gate, they just were running. Tyler, what you think?
Yeah, I think you kind of hit it on the head. The Pacers are boring, but they'll kill you with 1,000 rebounds, right? They got big men down. McDermott and Sabonis looked absolutely fantastic. And, unfortunately, when you have a young team like that, Rozier's kind of in the right place, but I think you need Ball to develop a little bit more for him to actually be that effective second or third guy on the team. And so, I think that for the first time in a long time, I think Charlotte basketball actually looks pretty fun. They could have a bright future.
Yeah, I know Michael Jordan's finally happy his team's starting to do well. But moving on to you guys think the Pacers will upset the Wizards tonight without LeVert still?
No, I don't. I think that, and we'll get to the Wizards, I'm sure, but, now that Bradley Beal's at least healthy enough to play, he was healthy enough to put up, I think, almost 30 points. I think he put up 29 in the last game. And Russell Westbrook still is just a triple-double machine. The fact that he's able to play at this level and with that intensity for this long is really a testament to the type of athlete he is, because to play that hard night in and night out, it's hell on the body. So for him to be able to do this, over the course of the past 5-6 years, we've seen him play at this level. I would love to see it translate into some success in the playoffs. And I think that, even though this probably isn't the most talented team that he's played on throughout his career, I think this is a really good fit for him, because I think Bradley Beal is a really good, I guess call whoever you want the superhero and whoever you want the sidekick. In my eyes, they're both superheroes. So it's like putting, Superman and Batman on the same team and just saying, all right, nobody's got a bigger chip on their shoulders than these two guys, and that's the way that they play. I guess the Pacers could do it. Domantas Sabonis is fantastic, as Tyler had mentioned. They just out-rebound you, outwork you in the paint. Sabonis had, I think, 21 rebounds in that play-in game, which is just an unbelievable stat in today's game. But I'd prefer to see the Wizards go on, because I want to see what Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal are going to be able to do, once you actually get them into the playoffs, sit them in a series and say, okay, here's your opponent, figure it out. I want to see what they come up with.
Yeah, well, definitely some good words to hear as a Wizards fan. He's definitely getting lots of slander the past 2 days, Westbrook, talking about, because he had a bad game against Boston. I'm not going to lie. But It looks like he just wasn't fully healthy. I don't know what was wrong, but he just seemed out of it. And Bradley Beal is still not 100%. And just seeing Tatum go off like that, Tatum was just not missing anything. Yeah, so moving on, staying on topic though, the Celtics and the Wizards. And keeping on with the Russell Westbrook, what do you guys think Westbrook's legacy would be without a championship if things don't go well tonight against the Pacers?
Yeah. I mean, it's tough. I mean, I think you kind of, without that, it's kind of a weird status to put him in, because I don't think you put him in like that Dan Marino, like greatest player who's never won conversation for like the NBA. I don't think because Marino was so good for so long, and Westbrook, I think, has been really great, and he has all these great sort of statistical achievements. He's like whatever the tier below that is. I think you put him in the conversation, but I don't think he's the guy who you're like, man, if only he'd won a championship, he truly would have it all. Like, I think he's been good, but there are times where you kind of lose track of Westbrook, other than like, oh, he's just like got like 10 more triple doubles because he's like a athletic freak. I don't like he's an interesting case. I don't really know where to put him without the championship, honestly.
Yeah, I definitely think a championship helps, because I think that the general public kind of is more on the line of what Tyler's saying about Russell Westbrook, because he's super fun to watch and he's a great competitor. But you really need to have that on your resume to like get into that upper echelon. And I think the reason for that is because he's played during an era where we have the LeBron Jameses of the world, we have the Steph Currys of the world, the Kevin Durants, and those are all guys that have championships, multiple championships on their resume. So to play in that same era definitely hurts Russell Westbrook. This was like the early 90s and he was playing during an era where it was basically Jordan and everybody else. I think that he's probably has a little bit more of an elevated status, kind of the way that like someone like Karl Malone does. Like, he's obviously a great scorer, an all-time leading scorer. I think he's still top 3. But was he really that good? Was he really that good? I don't really know. Right. And I think that's kind of where people are going to be at with Russell Westbrook, unless he's able to get a championship. And this would be a great place to do it. I don't think they can do it this year, but if they can keep those two together, keep building people like Hachimura, and get another offseason to bring in some free agents, see what they do in the draft. This is a good core, and I think this is a good situation for him to go after a title. So we'll see. But yeah, I agree with you, Tyler. I think that he needs to have that championship on his resume to be considered one of the greatest, again, because of the era that he's playing in.
Yeah, for sure.
There's guys you would just naturally put above him.
Yeah, and you can't argue it, right?
I'm sorry.
And you can't argue it. I mean, you have to put those guys ahead of them. And I mean, depending on how far back you're going, you're still talking about guys like Dwayne Wade, who, won multiple titles. And it's just you have to put him over it. So yeah, I mean, I get it, and I'm a huge Russ fan. Like he's one of my favorite players in all of sports to watch, just because the guy's motor never turns off. And hopefully, Nahom, like you were mentioning, like I agree, he didn't look right in that game, and they haven't said anything about it. You know, there's not on the injury list as far as I know, but maybe it's just all that, like I was saying, just working that hard night in, night out for that long. Maybe it's catching up with him. You know, that's one of the impressive things about LeBron. You know, just not just getting to the championship every year, but the fact that all that toll on your body, all those extra games that you're playing, then he's playing, you know, on the Olympic team and the national team, and he's doing all this stuff too. It's just a lot of miles to put on someone's body, and it doesn't matter how good of a condition you can keep yourself in. Eventually, age catches up. Period. You know, hopefully that's not happening with Russ, because it'd be, you know, just like a year or two too late getting into a situation like Washington, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think definitely time is running out, and health is a big important thing. And related to that is the Brooklyn Nets. The Brooklyn Nets were a team who kind of weren't playing a lot of their players during the season, and like just kept their team healthy. And now it's time for them to go. Do you think the Celtics will challenge the Nets in the playoffs? A healthy and rested Nets?
Tyler, you go.
Yeah, and, I mean, do I think so? I probably not. Genuine, like, I mean, I think Tatum is going to be really good, and I like Kemba a lot. But those three guys, I mean, they've played 9 games together all season. I think once you just get them all on the floor, it's going to be tough for any team in the first couple rounds to actually put up with that level of output. No, I think it's going to be a pretty quick first round exit for the Celtics, to be honest, which I don't mind either.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'd like to say yes. I was a huge Jason Tatum fan with him coming into the league. I root for the Tar Heels and college hoops, so it was pretty tough to just watch, you know, guys like Tatum just beat up on my college squad for all these years, and still doing it to this day. But, you know, Tatum is a special player, and he's in a really good spot, and he's fully acclimated into the Celtics organization. Like, that is their guy moving forward. Kemba Walker went there, and I think they have the intention of like, all right, this guy's going to be, you know, taking the helm for a little bit while Tatum's developing. And then they didn't really expect, or I guess see coming, the fact that Tatum and Jaylen Brown both were going to accelerate exponentially fast, way beyond, I think, what they're anticipating. And now both those guys are bona fide studs. And now it's almost like Kemba Walker is playing the third wheel. And, you know, the health of these guys is definitely something to keep in consideration. You know, Kemba's a guy that's always had injury problems throughout his career. And is Jaylen Brown going to be playing?
No, he's still out. He's out probably the rest of the playoffs with the wrist injury. So okay. That's a big thing. That's a big thing too. Yeah. I think the Celtics can not upset the Nets, but I think they can at least take them 6 or 7 games. I think with Kyrie Irving playing for the Celtics a couple years ago, I think Brad Stevens can definitely like not eliminate him, but like kind of limit him like he limited Westbrook. He switched Tatum on Westbrook and he put Kemba on Hachimura. Mm-hmm. I don't think he can do that same thing with the Nets because you can't put the third guy on Kevin Durant. But I think if Tatum is able to average like 35, I know that's gonna be tough, but if he's able to have like a bunch of those, like the way he played in the play, and I think he does that. I can see this game. I can see the series being challenging for the Nets, and maybe going to 6 or 7 games and being entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely possible. As we saw with Steph Curry in that game against the Lakers last night, one really great player can elevate his team in a must-win game, and you know we've seen guys do it over the course of a series and even a playoff season. And Jason Tatum and his ability to score from anywhere on the court, draw the attention of the defense and find his open teammates, especially when you have sharpshooters like Kemba Walker sitting out of the perimeter. You know, it's definitely doable, but the fact is that they're not a deep team. And when you look across the way at the Nets, they just have guys that are going to hurt you, you know, deep into their bench. And I think, you know, if Jaylen Brown was there, then it would be a lot different. But they just don't have enough ammunition in the tank, I don't think, to be able to take these guys out.
Definitely. Moving on to last night, which is by far the better night of the 2 playing nights. Starting with the Grizzlies and Spurs. This is a really close game. I thought the Grizzlies were going to kind of blow out the Spurs, but, you know, any Greg Popovich-led team, you're not going to doubt. But it was a 196 Dylan Brooks and John Morant had a great game. I think they both had 20 plus. And DeMar DeRozan was really he really upset me last night. Not upset me, but he just had an unimpactful game. Do you think Greg Popovich is retiring after the season, or do you think he's going to come back? I honestly think he's going to come back and at least coach for 2 or 3 more years, and probably hand the Rams over to Becky Hammon. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, I would love that handoff to Becky Hammon. She's been with the organization for a while now, and the NBA out of all the leagues is the most progressive league in a lot of ways, and I think that Greg Popovich has been a leading voice about saying that we need to have more female coaches and female voices in the NBA game, not just WNBA game, because with basketball, we've seen people like Becky Hammon come in and have an impact on the bench. When you have the respect of some of the players she's had within the Spurs organization, that speaks volumes to how people look at you. And when you're respected on that level, then yeah, you deserve head coaching looks. I know that Popovich has said recently, he's been asked if he's coming back, and he said, why wouldn't I coach? I would ask the other side of that. I don't know why he would at this point. You have nothing left to prove. You already coached some of the best players that the game has ever seen. And, he's obviously, in my opinion, maybe the second or third best coach that we've ever seen in the NBA. He's gone through some personal trauma. And at this point, how far away are the Spurs from being competitive and elite in just the Western Conference, where we saw a team like the Suns ascend this year, and we still have LeBron and the Lakers with AD, and it's just they're not going to get there anytime soon. I don't really see the benefit in him coming back, but I'm a big Pop fan, so it'd be nice to see him on the sidelines, but I'd be fine with seeing him on NBA on TNT or something like that.
A lot of 1 or 2 word breakdowns of plays. Good. Bad.
The irony would be funny.
I hope he coaches. I hope he does. I mean, I think it's unfortunate when a guy like that kind of, your career sort of ends in this way where you almost wish he timed it up with that last championship, like Duncan and them going out. But, again, he's I guess you're right. Why not? But why not let him keep coaching? I guess maybe they fall into someone. It's tough because his system was so perfect for the guys he had, and they were literally generational talent, and a Tim Duncan who could run his offense so well, and it's hard to replace that guy, and he's going to be trying to do that for the rest of his career. So yeah. And
who does he have to build off of? Right now, DeMar DeRozan's getting to the point where he's probably at the tail end of his career. DeJounte Murray's okay.
Yeah.
Lonnie Walker's okay. But, their leading scorers from the game against Memphis was DeRozan with 20, and then Rudy Gay had 20. I just don't know what they're building off of. I don't know.
Yeah. I think it's time to rebuild. They don't have it. The last couple of drafts, they drafted high, and they still haven't got any young proven stars, apart from a team like the Grizzlies, who has John Morant, Dylan Brooks. And on that same note, John Morant, I'm asking you guys a question about the 2019 NBA draft. So you had John Morant number 2, Zion number 1. Who so far has had a better career, Zion or John Morant?
You give Ja, I guess, the littlest bit of an edge because that team's in the playoffs here right now. I guess that it's if you were asking me who I'd rather have for the next 10 years, I would still take Zion because I think he's just an absolute game changer if you get him with a competent organization. The Knicks, no. But I think I'd still take him. Not that they're competent, but I think I'd take him. But right now, I think in terms of their careers, I think Ja's been maybe lived up and exceeded expectations.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% is John Morant to this point. And I agree with everything that you just said about Zion Williamson, Tyler. I think that the ceiling on him is unlimited. And I think that the ceiling is a little bit lower for John Morant. Now, the question is, though, is does Zion stay healthy enough to ever realize that ceiling, Whereas with John Morant, he's got the type of frame and body where, his skill set really fits at the NBA level. You don't really have to worry about him having catastrophic lower body injuries like the way that you worry about Zion Williamson. I think everybody will remember where they were when they saw Zion blow his shoe out at Duke. And it's like, oh my God, this guy is so powerful that he can blow his own shoe out, which is something you've never seen happen. And you just have to worry about it because he plays hard. I mean, he plays like Russ Westbrook, like we talked about, where he's just leaving it all on the court. And that's great. But, I mean, it takes a special person to be able to stay healthy. And when it's someone like Zion Williamson, it's like we had talked about today, earlier, Tyler, on the catch about Shohei Ohtani. It's like, this is someone that has skills that we might not ever see again in our lifetime. But because of, what he's doing with the versatility that he's playing, both pitcher and hitting, and it's just so much exposure and risk for injury. It's the same thing for Zion. It's just like, this guy does things that I've never seen anyone other than maybe, Michael Jordan and LeBron James be able to do on a basketball court. And I just worry about how long he's going to be able to stay healthy because so far over the course of his career, we've already seen him minutes restricted and missing time with injury. And, that's a very short sample size. Also to note, John Morant and Dylan Brooks and that young core got their team to the playoffs this year. Whereas the past 2 seasons, the NBA has kind of adopted this play-in, expanded playoffs and the play-in situations. And you cannot convince me otherwise that Adam Silver did not have the idea of, if I do this, the Pelicans should be good enough to sneak into the playoffs so I can get some playoff ads for Zion. And they can't do it. They can't do it. And everyone was killing the Lakers about that AD trade. They gave up too much. They gave up a playoff team. I haven't seen them in the playoffs yet, but I've seen LeBron and AD and the Lakers in there a whole bunch.
Yeah. Zion, stats-wise, Zion's averaging 27, 7, and 4. But, yeah, I agree with both of you guys. He's just getting injured. And he has weapons around him. Lonzo Ball. He had J.J. Redick for like a year and a half. And Steven Adams, Josh Hart. So he has shooters around him. So I can't really make an excuse for Zion. But with Ja Morant, he just seems like more of a leader too. Like that Memphis team was just so together and has so much just like experience already as a young team. I definitely see this Memphis team going maybe to the finals in the next 2-3 years.
Yep. I agree.
It's the big man sort of like big man with tools, right? Because I mean, Davis is an injury list. That's his arm. Joel Embiid has finally kind of played a fully, mostly healthy season. Like, it's kind of a tough thing. If you're that talented at that size, you're just going to expose yourself to a whole bunch of injuries that guys who just don't play that athletically don't have those things. That's kind of the trade-off with someone who's that gifted at that size.
Yeah, for sure. Moving on to probably the most anticipated game of the year, which was last night. We had the Lakers and the Warriors. Lakers got the W, of course, thanks to a big circus shot from LeBron. And a great defense on the inbound following inbound play. I thought it was a foul. There was 2 people on Steph Curry holding him. That should have been an awful foul.
It was a foul. All day was a foul.
It was definitely a foul.
But it's a Steph Curry effect, I guess. So did you guys see the game being this close, first of all? And did this change any of your playoff predictions? And you got no?
No and no. I did not expect it to be that close. I thought the Lakers were going to blow them out. I was actually, before the game started, I was telling a couple of my buddies, man, that Steph's going to have like 65 points in a blowout loss tonight. And I was dead wrong. I don't know why I keep doing this, but I always underestimate how good Steph Curry is. And I always underestimate how good Draymond Green is. And both of those guys put on absolute clinics on how to play the game of basketball last night. It's not going to show up in Draymond's stat sheet. But the fact of the matter is Draymond Green was a big reason why that game was as close as it was to begin with. He was an absolute terror on defense, and he did everything that you want Draymond Green to do. It really exemplified how much they miss Klay Thompson. And the fact that we haven't seen him play basketball in 2 years breaks my heart, because Klay is one of the best personalities in the game. He can score as quick as anybody in the league, maybe all outside of Steph Curry. And to miss seeing him for that long, especially in meaningful basketball games, it really hurts as a basketball fan. And even though it would have pained me to see them lose, if Klay Thompson is there last night, the Lakers get blown out. And it's a completely different story.
I completely agree, and I think Draymond, it brought back like prime Draymond, and you're so right about Curry, because in your mind you're just like, this guy, you know, he can hit a three from anywhere, and you kind of think that's his whole game. But when he goes to the hoop, he's so creative. Like every time he goes in for a layup or a floater, you're like, well, that's good. And you're just, how does he make those little shots work so well, especially at his size? It's amazing. But I mean, in terms of going forward, I think I love the Lakers Suns matchup round one. I think that's going to be fantastic. And then, I think the Warriors, it's going to be a really fun playing game with them too. I mean, it's going to be, both the offshoots of this are like really, really fun matchups.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Who knows? Hopefully, Warriors win on Friday. And I'm not saying they're going to beat the Jazz in the first round, but if they do, don't be surprised if you guys see a Lakers-Warriors. Hot take, Lakers-Warriors Western Conference Finals. I know it's like the odds are probably very, very low, but that would be crazy.
Ooh, I'd like to see the betting odds on that, actually.
Yeah, that would be crazy. Moving on to the game tonight. Pacers and the Wizards, my Wizards. Wizards are obviously had a disappointing loss a couple days ago, like we talked about. I think the Wizards will win today pretty easily. I just don't see Sabonis and McDermott hitting like 10 threes again. And I see Westbrook bouncing back. What do you guys think?
Yeah, that was a career performance for Doug McDermott there. You know, it's going to be a lot put on the shoulders of Domantas Sabonis, and we know that he can score and board. Like, that's just going to happen regardless. But if they don't have Karis LeVert and that extra offense from the wing, I just don't think they have enough firepower, because ultimately I don't think there's going to be really too much drama in here. I just think Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook is too good of a combination for Indiana to slow down. It's one thing to slow down a rookie and LaMelo Ball and kind of a developing young team, but when you have two established veterans that are among the best players in the league, like two top, 15 players in the league on the same squad, it's just too much.
Yeah, I completely agree. And, you know, you almost put Beal in that same category as up there with Russ, of like, this is a guy who's been so good for so long, and he's just played on these teams that, you know, making the playoff may not have to put it all together around him, and it's killer because he's so good. He's so good, and so it'll be good to see him hopefully get in tonight with Russ and him in the backcourt. I think that'll be really fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Fingers crossed, as a Wizards fan. And finally, last playing game before the playoffs. You got the Warriors and the Grizzlies. What are your thoughts on this game? I think the Warriors will take this game pretty easily also. Hopefully, I want to see the Warriors in the playoffs. I just don't see John Morant and Dillon Brooks again having a crazy game. I see Stephen Curry handling this team in the first half, and Draymond Green carrying them. What do you think?
Tyler, go ahead.
I agree. I totally agree. I think the Warriors got it. I mean, it's a repeat of like 3 days ago, right? Didn't these teams just play to finish the regular season? And Curry goes full Baron Davis on them, which I absolutely, I think that team is just, they're too well coached. They're too good. They're too well coached. And, you know, Curry's just going to, we'll take care of business, I think. It feels right to me.
Yeah, I'm taking Golden State as well, but I think it's going to be closer than, maybe we're giving it credit for. All it takes is for Dillon Brooks and John Morant to be on the same page and be putting buckets in, and that team can fill it up the same way that the Warriors can. And again, like I said, we really felt the Warriors missing Klay Thompson from that offense in that game last night against the Lakers, because Draymond, I saw them leave Draymond open for wide open jumpers, and nobody was even rushing over to get a hand in the face, because that's how little respect he warrants as an offensive player. But he has to be on the court. So, that's just somebody that's on the court all the time that you don't have to worry about when you're on defense. And, that's a wrinkle that, they're just a shooter away, I think, from being almost unbeatable again. Or at least like up to that level of like what we've seen from Utah and teams like Denver and the Lakers through stretches throughout the season. So I think the Grizzlies can give them a game. I definitely think that they can beat them. But I agree. I would prefer to see Steph Curry in the playoffs just because of the season that he's had. I think he's clearly the MVP of the league. And I'm not done seeing Steph, because for the same reason that you were saying, Tyler, about, you think that all he does is shoot threes. Then when you watch him, to me, one of the most impressive things about Steph Curry is the way that he moves off the ball. Not since Ray Allen have I seen someone as good at moving off of the ball, weaving in and around screens, and getting himself into a catch and shoot position. And then that release is just so quick. It's unstoppable. But, also add the floaters, add the reverse spinning layups with angles and geometry that I don't even understand. I don't want to see that end at this point, especially with the playoffs in the Western Conference being so stacked. I want to see the best of the best. And Steph Curry definitely is one of the best of the best.
Yeah, definitely agree. FanDuel has the Warriors winning by 3.5 point favorites. So Vegas thinks this is going to be a close game. So maybe, yeah. Well, yeah, that's it, folks. Thanks to Matt and Tyler for filling in today. And thank you guys for listening. Be sure to catch us next Thursday for our work at FineBet.com. Thanks. Go Wizards.
Go Yankees.
Oh, yeah. Nice win.